almost touched. There's three trucks battle for the lead as they come up on a couple lap trucks.
Luis is definitely not going to let him in. He'll come in with the second. He's going to take him 3 wide down to 5.
Luis tries to throw a block and he
Luis whips. And here comes Chris Smith off turn number 4. Wesley Bechdel might have a shot at the win here. Here they come to the line.
Oh, he gets the back.
And Bechdel.
Bounce back on the back bumper of James Ray there. Desperate for a win, desperate to get back into the championship.
Oh, he gives him the bumper.
Evan Piet is going to come through to win it. Who's hanging tough? Oh, Jones is loose. He's going to drive up into him. Can Coots hang on to it off the corner? Coots gets it. That means Apex Energy Series racing from the Slingshot Racing League. Welcome, race fans. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined in the booth tonight by Chris Smith. Tonight we're bringing you live racing action in the Xfinity B-Class cars from Talladega Superspeedway for the Apex Energy 175. Dega, as many race fans endearingly like to call Talladega Superspeedway, is the longest track of its kind in all of NASCAR at 2.66 miles. And because it's such a massive track, it allows for cars to really get their motors going. NASCAR founder Bill France Sr. initially intended to build a superspeedway in North Carolina that would be larger than Daytona. When that plan fell through, he tried Atlanta and Birmingham and pretty much anything else he could think of along Interstate number 20. As destiny would have it, he ultimately found and chose an old airfield in Lincoln, Alabama. The track opened on September 13th, 1969 as the Alabama International Motor Speedway, and the rest, they say, is history. In its 50 years of existence, Talladega has had its fair share of ominous, mysterious, unexplainable, and downright spooky occurrences. Many have labeled the track as cursed and speculate that it's the result of the track being built over an ancient indigenous American burial ground. During the Talladega 500 in 1973, Chris, not long after a fatal crash killed Rookie of the Year Larry Smith, fellow driver Bobby Isaac suddenly stopped his car, exited the vehicle, and declared that he was retiring and done with driving. He said he heard a voice urging him to quit, and that he felt the only thing to do was follow through with that guidance. Chris, Dega is known for its three-wide, wild racing and spectacular crashes. Whether the track sits on a burial ground or not, these Apex Energy Series drivers are going to need luck or the spirits on their side if they're going to make it through these 70 laps in one piece. We're getting closer to Halloween, Chris. What do you expect to see tonight from these drivers out here at Talladega?
Well, Talladega has made many a driver question their careers, so hopefully it doesn't make any of our slingshot drivers question their sim racing careers tonight. We got 70 laps around this high bank super speedway, and you know, everybody's going to have a different mentality about how they approach tonight. Do they want to try to race really hard and control the race from the very beginning, or do they want to maybe ride in the back of the pack and just wait to those last maybe 10 laps to attack? It's going to be interesting to see what happens, and you know, are we going to see a big one? Are we going to see a big crash tonight? Hopefully we don't. If we do, hopefully it's late in the going and not very early. But yeah, I think that our drivers are going to have their hands full with the competition tonight. I think it's going to be wild with a big field of 32. We're going to expect one pit stop tonight, about round lap 35, and that happens to be when the stage break is as well.
Absolutely. We'll be talking about plenty of strategy here in a few minutes to come, but first, we're going to hit up a fan favorite slingshot racing pre-race tradition with the national anthem. We'll send that to you guys, and we'll be back on the other end to lay out some race strategies and stories to follow. All right, we are live. Slingshot Racing League in the Apex Energy Series from Talladega, Alabama. Super Speedway Racing tonight comes ahead here in about 5 to 10 minutes. We are going to set up the race for our viewers with some strategies, Chris, here in a moment. Before we do that, we're going to take a look at the most recent updated point standings for the Apex Energy Series, and there are a couple of shakeups from the previous week. Jacob Bradley is still your points leader. Rye Jones moves back into second. Justin Wilson, with that crash last week at Darlington, caught up with Chris Pierce in the first half of the race. Rye Jones is going to move into second. He's going to be a driver we're looking at all night. We'll talk about him in the race setup stories. Patrick Colby also up 2 positions. Great job for Patrick last week. Continues to build on his success first half of the season here in Slingshot Racing. Steve Karosik, Chris, I think is another driver we need to keep an eye on tonight. Karosik is a super speedway ringer, self-professed super speedway specialist. He is going to be running up front all night with his teammate Zachary Lima, but he's up to 6th in points, so we'll be keeping a eye on these drivers all night long. But let's go ahead and talk about our race stories to follow. All of our viewers out there, we appreciate you tuning in. And as a little thank you, we like to give you some stories to follow to focus on as the race goes by. And Chris, the very first thing up there, avoid the big one. We talked about it in the race intro. You never know if you're going to get a big one or not, but when you're getting 30-plus cars together, I think it goes without saying that the chances are pretty high. Can drivers do anything to avoid a big one?
There's a few things that you can do. There's 2 really safe places, I think, and that's either being like literally in the very front of the field, or it's being at the very, very back of the field. But we've seen drivers that are at the front of the field and at the back of the field be caught up in these wrecks. So there's really no place to hide, but those are your safest bets. Typically, on average, the big wrecks on average occur around the 3rd or 4th spot. So I think that's going to be the place to keep an eye on when drivers might wander into another person's line by accident.
Absolutely. Hey, right now, we're going to throw a poll up in the chat here on YouTube whether or not you think there'll be a big one tonight, a big accident, multi-car accident. Vote yes or no. Let us know in the chat right now. That poll should be live. While you're voting, we're also going to talk about what can cause those big collisions and race-ending crashes for a lot of drivers. Side drafting, Chris, is something we noticed at Daytona early on in the season opener. Side drafting causing a lot of incidents between drivers. Talk to us a little bit about what side drafting is and what the strategy there is early in the going and why drivers would want to side draft.
So the side draft isn't as big in this car as it is on the Super Speedway model on the next-gen cars, but it still is there. I mean, basically what the driver wants to do, the driver that's trying to pass whoever's on their inside or their outside, they want to get as close as they can to the car that is on their inside or their outside, and they want to pack as much air as they can on that car. It packs the air on the rear spoiler, and it basically just acts as an air brake to slow them down. So also, drivers on the outside, if the outside line is rolling, they want to try to get as close as they can to the drivers on the inside because the guys on the inside are going the shortest distance, and so you want to cut down on that distance. If you're up the track, you're going the longer way around. So, yeah, we're going to see, hopefully we don't see too much of that early on in the race. Hopefully that's something that we don't see until maybe the last probably quarter of the race.
Absolutely. We'll be following that all night long. Another driver we're going to be following all night long, Rye Jones. Rye Jones moved into second place, Chris. Rye Jones has a good track record, literally, at Talladega. He won the last event we did at Talladega in the Apex Energy Cup Series in those Gen 4 ARCA cars, and he's a little stout super speedway racer. So we're going to see if Rye Jones in that number 91 car, how racy he is early tonight. I know some of the driver strategy is to ride at the back. Chase Berry is saying in the chat that he's definitely riding in the back tonight. We'll see if he works with his teammate and if they ride in the back together. But we'll be watching Rye Jones throughout the evening. And mentioning teamwork between Payday drivers, teamwork makes the dream work, Chris. And I know we've got a team championship going on right now. Payday Racing Purple is pulling out with a pretty healthy lead in that team championship, but we're going to see teamwork on display pretty heavily over the course of the evening in terms of drafting. How long does teamwork last? Is there a point where teamwork goes out the window?
I think that, it just depends on the situation. But yeah, I mean, you get closer to the end and maybe your teammate makes a move that you don't want to. You might decide to, do something a little bit different. But I think that the teams that stick together are going to be the drivers that probably find themselves up at the front. We saw Dale Cup with Karosik and Lima control the race at Daytona, and they're up front during a lot of that race. And here they are tonight starting 1-2. So I bet you see those two drivers team up. That they don't have the biggest team, but they know each other very well, and they work together very well with each other.
Yeah, speaking of those two Dale Cup teammates, let's go ahead and take a look at the Evan Pienta Design starting grid for tonight. You mentioned it with the pole. Steve Karosik, second pole of the season, also won the pole at Daytona. Karosik is in the hunt for a free paint scheme consultation and design from Evan Pienta. The driver at the end of the season with the most pole awards will win that free consultation design. You see a lot of paint schemes from Evan Pienta Designs on the track tonight. Karosik starting right next to his teammate Zachary Lima, starting in second. Scotty Sobczak, Chris. Scotty Sobczak has a third-place average finish on super speedways in Slingshot Racing League. He's going to be starting third. On his outside, Randy Bechdel. Great second-place finish last week for Bechdel. Seeing if he can continue that momentum. His teammate Johnny Rapp going to be starting fifth. Justin Wilson, another payday driver, starting in the sixth position, looking to get back on track after that crash last week at Darlington. Wesley Pistol, another driver who could use a strong finish, starting seventh in the number 7 car. Jacob Bradley, your points leader, starting all the way back in eighth, but we'll see how long it takes himself to work up to the front. Chris Pierce starting ninth. Kyle Dewey, Chris, great starting position. Now we've got some Dewey fans in the chat. We'll be featuring him in a little while as the driver of the race. Rye Jones also starting number 91, starting 11th. We're looking to see a strong run out of him. Jeremy Gardner in the chat, he said he's going to be last. I don't believe it, though. He's starting 12th tonight. Scott Tompkins starting 13th. He wants to get back on track after a lap 1 incident last week at Darlington. Clint Walker, great qualifying run in the 02, going to be starting 14th. James Suggs starting 15th in that number 20 yellow car. Jacob Chase in the 43 starting 16th. Chris Blassie and Lee Campbell, CNL Racing teammates, starting 17th and 18th respectively. Evan Pienta and Dan Berg are going to round out your top 20 in the 19th and 20th slot. Patrick Piper and Tony Caputo, row number 11. Josh Ward and Patrick Colby, row number 12. Chase Berry, going to be dropping to the back pretty quickly, I'd imagine, for that number 17 car. He's starting 25th. 26th is James Ledford. We're going to be talking about James Ledford later on in this race. Matt Kuntz is going to be starting in the 27th spot. James Danforth starting in the 28th spot, Chris. Season high finish is 7th last week for the driver of that number 88, James Danforth. He'll look to continue that momentum. Steve McDonald and Nick DeCesare in that Sunoco car on row number 15. Row 16 sees Eric Wright and Patrick O'Toole. Shotgun on the field. Paul Thomas going to be starting in the 33rd position. He's a pretty good super speedway racer. We'll see if he can make some moves out there tonight, stay out of trouble, and bring home a good finish. Chris, pace car getting ready to peel off. We got a bit of time. What advice are you giving to these drivers as we get the race started here?
Just that you can't win it at the very beginning. 70 laps is a long time here. You don't need to really go hard and race super hard until the last 10. So we'll see if they keep that in mind, and hopefully we can avoid a big one.
Green flag is out in the Apex Energy 175 from Talladega. Karosik and Lima going to lead the way across the start-finish line as drivers head down into turn 1, 2x2 as far as the eye can see right now.
Yeah, very, very orderly start as the two Dale Cup teammates right here controlling both lanes. See if they try to get nose to tail at some point.
Yeah, that's something we saw them do at Daytona in the season opener, Chris, very well. The 26 and the 72 working really well. Right now, you can see Randy Bechdel and Justin Wilson giving that 26 a good bit of momentum, Chris. And Randy Bechdel going to jump to the high side, see if he can bring his payday teammate Justin Wilson with them. They're going to hang that 26, Zachary Lima. He's in the sucker hole. Steve Karosik going to jump up to see if he can help Zachary Lima, but that's going to throw Scotty Sobczak on the inside, 3 wide for the lead. The Dale Cup cars, they're going to be hung out here, Chris, unless they get some help pretty quickly.
Yeah, they are, and just the numbers are not there in the middle. They're running very tight. They're running very close together, and so that might be able to keep them up here because they're running a lot closer together than some of the cars around them. Randy Bechdel running really high. I don't think Randy wanted anything to do with that 3 wide situation.
Yeah, I think he saw what was developing there and thought better of it. Right now, Scotty Sobczak is your leader. He's leading that inside line down the backstretch here in Talladega, Alabama. He's got help from Johnny Rapp as well as Wesley Pistol. Those first 3 cars on the inside line.
Oh, Johnny
Wesley
Luce.
Pistol, pretty good super speedway racer. You mentioned Johnny tucked up right underneath the rear end bumper of that 81 of Scotty Sobczak. Right now, close quarters. Are you nervous if you're the 81 looking in rear view mirror at that orange and black Mission barbecue car?
The only thing that makes me nervous right now is, I just worry about a little bit of net code. That's the thing about running tight on people's doors is all it takes is just a little bit of net code, and we've got a big crash on our hands. So everybody's doing a really nice job right there, giving some nice room right there. The drivers on the outside not pinching the drivers that are on the inside line. So liking what I'm seeing so far.
Absolutely. Johnny Rapp going to make the move down the backstretch, Chris. He's bailing out. I thought he might be making a move for the lead, but that 52 going to drop to the back early on the apron. He doesn't want any part to do with this. We saw his teammate Randy Bechdel giving a pretty wide berth to the 7 and the 65. Payday strategy right now, Chris, seems to be several of those cars going to the back, but with that same token, you've got Justin Wilson and Jacob Bradley still up there with Rye Jones right behind them. So it appears a mixed strategy between those payday drivers. But right now, we are 2 by 2 by 2, at least 10 rows back. The Dale Cup cars are still first and second place with Steve Karosik and Zachary Lima working that inside and outside. It's unclear right now which side has the momentum. But right now, I'm liking what I'm seeing, just like you, Chris.
Yeah, there's not really any aggressive pushing going on. When we did see that, pushing earlier, it didn't seem like the line that was getting the push could actually get a really big advantage. So these Xfinity cars probably don't get the big boost from a bump draft like the next gen Cup cars do.
No, and right now, you can kind of see that just a little bit. You've got some bubbles forming between several of these drivers. A good bit of patience being shown. Right now, 4 laps in the books here from Talladega Superspeedway, Apex Energy Series Racing Live. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined by Chris Smith in the booth. Right now, looking a little bit further through the field. You hate to abandon any race at this point, but looking back all the way at Lee Campbell in the 14th position, the 16th position, actually. There's some pretty tight racing going back here. Pushing Chris Blassie, those 2 C&L teammates, the 15 and the 14. Getting racy, Chris. These drivers have moved up a handful of positions right now. I'm just looking for them in the running order. Lee Campbell up 3 positions. Chris Blassie up 3 positions as well. So things going pretty well for Chris Blassie and Lee Campbell in that 15 and 14. One thing I want to mention about the driver of that 15, Chris Blassie, he almost won that Apex Energy Cup Series race from Talladega that Rye Jones won earlier in the year. So Chris Blassie, nothing to turn your nose up at when it comes to super speedway racing. He's a pretty racy driver out here on these big tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. He's somebody that I could definitely see pulling out a victory tonight.
Absolutely. Talladega, opportunity for drivers who might not be running up front top 5 in most other races of the season. Anyone's got a chance. That's what we love about super speedway racing. We got lovely days in the chat right now saying that is exactly true for Matt Kuntz and Nick DeCesare. He says, don't be fooled by their starting spot. They are going to be up to the front before you know it. They are contenders, and we've seen both of those guys, those very racing motorsports drivers, have really good runs at super speedways in the past. Right now, back up at the front, new development. Randy Bechdel is your lead outside car, Chris. He's got some help from Justin Wilson as Zach Lima has jumped down to the bottom. And you can see the 26 managing the race, Chris, but what it's going to end up in is that 26 getting caught once again in the sucker hole. But Similar strategy last time. The 72 is going to jump up and try to fill that void and give that 26 some help, but it's going to open that inside line for the 81 and the 7 as Scotty Sobczak and Wesley Pistol look to capitalize on that move. Jacob Bradley not quite sure where to go as Randy Bechdel gets the push from Justin Wilson, who's going to jump up in front of the 72. Wilson's going to go to the lead now.
Yeah, that's some aggressive racing right there. We see teammates wanting to stick with each other.
Karosik's going to jump down there to the bottom. He's not going to have any of it. 26 of Zachary Lima going to go with him, going to give him a push. Now Justin Wilson's going to be the car in the sucker hole with Patrick Colby in that Alabama Crimson Tide car right behind him. Drivers head down into turns 1 and 2 coming down here at the backstretch at Talladega. Chris, you mentioned it. Aggressive driving here on lap 8 of 70.
Yeah, we're seeing the alliances come to the forefront here. Drivers wanting to make sure that they are with their teammates, and yeah, we're seeing some really, really dicey moves from Dale Cup here, trying to stick together and trying to keep control of the race. They're doing a nice job of that so far.
Yeah, you mentioned aggressive racing, Chris. We had 9 votes in the chat. 100% of them said there's going to be a big one. Does that surprise you at all? Is that what you expected?
That's about what I expected. Not surprised at all by that.
Right now, 8 laps complete here at Talladega. The first 3 drivers in line are single file. The first side-by-side battle headed down into turn 1 and 2. Christopher Pierce and Wesley Pistol, the 65 and the 7 going at it. Looks like Pistol on the outside has more energy behind him with Justin Wilson, Patrick Colby, and Randy Bechdel lined up. Chris Pierce really doesn't have anyone. He's got James Suggs behind him, but he's a good car length and a half back. And we talked about the importance of energy at these tracks, Chris. These 72 and the 26 really taking multiple lines into turns 2 and 3. What was the strategy there for the 26? Is it important to block the energy of the lane coming high?
It is, but what I'm saying is these guys are doing the same move. If I'm out there on the track, I got to be prepared to counter that in some type of way. They're doing this move where they'll move up in front of the drivers that are coming on the outside. So the drivers on the outside go higher to make it 3 wide, and then they just move in line with each other in the middle. So I think that that's been a great move so far, and it's worked out really well for both the 72 and the 26. But you can only do that so many times, I think, before everybody sort of wisens up to it just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 laps in. We've seen it a couple of times. We'll be seeing how smart these drivers are if they notice that Dale Cup signature move so far in the race. Wesley Pistol got caught up on the outside line. He's going to be dropping back several positions, at least 10 rows. Only about 20 positions lost there, Chris. That speaks to the importance of that outside line. Wesley Pistol in that number 7. Still not able to get in line. Might try to get in front of Kyle Dewey here. Looks like he's going to make it happen. I think that actually might be Tony Caputo back there. But finally, Pistol in the 7 is going to be able to slip back down. New leader of the race, though, Patrick Colby. Alabama Crimson Tide car. University is just about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Talladega Superspeedway, maybe a little bit less. Right now, doing the Alabama Crimson Tide proud with Justin Wilson on his rear bumper. I know Dawn Hilbrans is rooting for Patrick Colby. That's her driver right now. We appreciate you, Dawn. Keep it going in the chat, everyone. Let us know what driver you're pulling for tonight. Who's your favorite driver you're looking to see win the race? Right now, Zachary Lima, if he's got some fans, he's making them happy. Going to that inside line through the tri-oval, coming to the start-finish line to take lap number 12. Right now, the energy seems to be advantageous on the outside, because these drivers are playing 4D chess. You got to be thinking a move ahead out here with the way we've seen these guys racing. Every move matters, every inch matters. When we're talking about going 200 miles an hour, one mistake, one flinch can lead to a race-ending crash.
Yeah, you might be sitting at home and you might be thinking, well, why don't they just push all the way around the track? That's clearly the fastest way around, but the reason why they don't, you saw Justin Wilson lift off the back bumpers. He was doing some aggressive pushing of Patrick Colby, and what happened was his engine temperature, I think, increased, and he had to lay off of him for a few laps as Karosik moves up in front of Colby, and Karosik is going to go to the lead here.
Yeah, so that number 72 Dale Cup car leads for the second or third time today. He was your pole sitter. He is back up front right now. We've got a breakaway a little bit on the outside line, this high line with 3 or 4 cars in line. We see that in short-lived, though, as Patrick Colby in the 9 says, no, thank you. I will actually prefer to take the lead. Justin Wilson going to say the same thing as we see Steve Karosik get past on the inside and outside. We'll see if the 26, his Dale Cup teammate, Zachary Lima, comes to his aid. But no, looks like Karosik going to be trapped there in the middle between a rock and a hard place there. He does not have any help nearby. I'm looking for a spot that he might be able to jump in. I see that spot behind the 81 or in front of the 81 of Scotty Sobczak. But right now, very close between Patrick Colby and Zachary Lima. 4 wide going into turn 1. 4 wide for second place. We'll see if Justin Wilson can hold the wheel straight there. 3 wide in the middle. That was a close call for all of those leaders, and I guarantee you, if you were behind that, you definitely held your breath for a second, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of moving around. We're just seeing a lot of guys that want to work with certain people. We kind of got the Dale Cup teammates and the Payday teammates broken up now with that little exchange. Everybody's kind of got somebody around them that maybe they haven't been working with this whole race. And right up there in the middle of it is Patrick Colby. We'll see. He's probably looking for his teammate, Scotty Sobczak, a couple cars back.
Absolutely. Scotty Sobczak about 2 cars back from Patrick Colby. Colby's been pretty racing tonight, Chris. I do want to point out 22 spots gained from lap 1 to right now lap 15 for Patrick Colby. Brilliant effort right now going on for the driver of that number 9 car in that Alabama Crimson Tide paint scheme. I know we're both partial. We are both from Alabama, so this car's got a special place in our heart. We don't play favorites here. We'll be watching all drivers equally, but right now that thing is operating on all cylinders.
It is, and you got a really good view of that A right there as he was all up on the back bumper of Jacob Bradley, pushing him down the backstretch right there. We got a third line foreman deeper in the field.
There, 13th, 14th position, Josh Ward, Kyle Dewey. Got some pretty good racing going on back here between these drivers. Before this, be careful. Steve McDonald and Kyle Dewey almost come to blows there crossing the start-finish line on lap number 16 of 70. Before this last couple of laps, Chris, Kyle Dewey had worked his way into the top 10. I know we got some Dewey fans watching in the Twitch chat right now, rooting him on. They're saying he's cutting up the competition in that number 33. So Kyle doing a good job. And hey, I know it's pretty exciting racing as we watch the 33 on that outside line, but Kyle is our driver of the race, our Sim Racing Concept Spotlight driver. Let's go ahead and take a second to learn a little bit about what makes the driver of that number 33 machine, Kyle Dewey, tick.
Hello everyone, my name is Kyle Dewey. I am the driver of the 33 Strong Zero Toyota Supra. Outside of iRacing, what is my real job? I am a credit analyst. Chocolate or vanilla. Would normally go strawberry here, but if I had to go between those two options, I would definitely go vanilla. What is my first real life race you remember watching? I had to ask my dad about this one. It was a long time ago. It would be the 1999 NBNA Platinum 400. I believe that was won by, I think it was Dale Jarrett. I had to look that up today. Best condiments to put on a hot dog is just ketchup and mustard for me. Nothing too fancy. Favorite race track to race at? I should say Dover Downs since it's my hometown, but I've had the most success with Chicagoland if I'm not crashing or somehow in the back of the pack.
All right, so Kyle Dewey learned a little bit. We love to learn about our drivers. Kyle Dewey doing a great job right now, Chris. Real action as we watch James Suggs drop to the back of the field down the back straightaway. He's had enough because we are looking at some intense racing around the 9th, 10th position, Chris. Things are heating up as they head down into turns 3 and 4. Right now, we're starting to see, you mentioned earlier, that third line forming, and these drivers are not giving it a break. We're about halfway of this fuel run, just about a quarter of the way through the race, and the intensity is definitely picking up. Wesley Pistol getting a nice little push from Patrick Piper on the outside there. It's only 2 cars, which might present a problem if they are to make up more positions they already have. But right now, I'm watching them. That's 7. Working on the right rear quarter panel of Randy Bechdel. That is the 3rd car in line. So how far can those cars make it just 2 in line, Chris?
It just depends on, like, if the guys in the middle are not quite running as tight together. They're running really close together here on the outside, but we can see the drivers in the middle lane. Sometimes they'll separate themselves just a little bit, just trying to take it easy, look after their engine temperatures, and you know, when drivers are lifting in the middle, they're able to make some ground up. You know, Wesley Pistol got shuffled back there a few laps ago in that exchange between the Dale Cup teammates. He got hung up on the outside. And ever since then, he's been trying to make that 3rd lane work. He's been trying really hard to get back up to where he was before. So hopefully he can, you know, he might have found a partner right there in Patrick Piper to get back up there.
Absolutely, and they got Lee Campbell working right behind them. So a couple of cars lined up on the top. Guys we're not normally used to seeing up front working their way up to the front right now. Your running order as it stands here, lap number 20 of 70. We're almost a third of the way through this race. Steve Karosik is your leader, Patrick Colby 2nd, Justin Wilson 3rd, Randy Bechdel 4th, Jacob Bradley 5th, Rye Jones 6th, Zachary Lima 7th, Jacob Chase 8th, Scotty Sobzak 9th, as they come up on the lap car of Chase Berry. Chris, I'm surprised to see Chase Berry already going a lap down. I don't believe he had trouble earlier in the race. I didn't notice anything abnormal. He talked about riding in the back, but is that the dangerous part of riding in the back without a draft partner?
Yeah, it is, and you can lose the draft, and I think that I'm not 100% sure if something happened that made him lift or if he had a connection issue, because I show him as 2 laps down currently.
Yeah, you're right. He is looking like he's made a pit stop about 5 laps ago, so that's interesting. I'm wondering if he is banking on this thing going green for a good while longer. I'm not sure I fully understand the strategy though.
Yeah, and he was only in the pit stop for 7 seconds, so something must have happened elsewhere that made him lose a lot of ground, because he wouldn't be 2 laps down from just making a pit stop. So, you know, something that it might have caught him out and he had to lift. Right now we got 30 cars in this lead pack right here.
Yeah, and I want to direct your attention up to the front right now, because things are getting crazy between Steve Karosik, Justin Wilson, Patrick Colby, and Randy Bechdel. We almost had a couple of close calls with the number 9 tapping that back bumper of the 72. A couple of hold-your-breath moments, and right now Jacob Bradley's feeling that. You can see he's got about a car length space between him and the back bumper of that 9 who's pushing the leader, the 72. These guys are going at it, Chris. Lap 22 of 70 in the book. We're caution-free so far, but we've definitely had our moments. These drivers are driving hard. We haven't seen as much side drafting, though, this evening, and I'm really glad that the drivers have shown a little bit of restraint with that. We've definitely seen hard racing, but I think we've seen anything too overly aggressive this early in the race for a restrictor plate track. So these drivers doing a good job. Right now, Karosik, Colby break away just a little bit. The first side-by-side battle is for 3rd place between Jacob Bradley, your points leader, and Justin Wilson, 3rd place in points. Take a lap around here. Just go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say, it has been aggressive from the standpoint of we've seen a lot of lane changes, but I haven't seen anything that's too crazy. You're right.
Yeah, these drivers have done a pretty good job. Hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a crank it up moment. Let's just let the air breathe a little bit. Hear these engines as these cars go around 2 and 3 wide here. right, Chris, you can see just how close these drivers are racing each other and how fast they're going from that crank it up camera. These guys, the intensity, Chris, has not really let off all race. I know we're in the first half of the race right now, but we've seen some great racing. Justin Wilson, Patrick Colby really close together through the trial. But one thing I've been noticing, talk about Jacob Bradley for a second, Chris. He has continued to build points lead, but the last couple of laps, I've noticed Bradley getting the apron a little bit going into turn number 1 as well as the tri-oval. Is there anything that drivers might be experiencing that might be making that a more frequent occurrence?
At Talladega and at Daytona, just sometimes following the driver in front of you can get you a little bit off balance, with entering the corner. Also, like if the outside lane makes a little bit of a move, maybe move slightly down into your lane a little bit, you might just be like a slight reaction to that. So not that unusual to see, especially with running as close to the apron as we are on corner entry here at Talladega.
Absolutely. Right now, lap number 25 of 70 complete here in the Apex Energy Series from Slingshot Racing League. We're here at Talladega, race number 8 on the season. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined in the booth by Chris Smith. We're going to work our way through the field. Talk about some drivers we haven't seen on TV yet. I can see one of those drivers I want to take a look at. Maybe Jacob Chase. Driver in that number 43, sitting in the 7th position, Chris. Interesting looking paint scheme, white and black with some teal accents for the driver in that number 45 car. Jacob Chase doing a good job right now. You can see him running in the 7th position. We saw him have a pretty strong run at Daytona in the season opener. What is your feeling? Maybe you don't know this because you're used to running in races up front normally, but Jacob Chase, as we can see some of his stats, currently 7th, started 16th, working his way through the field. If you're not a guy who's running up front week after week and you find yourself up in the front at Daytona, what are you kind of thinking? What's going through your head as we watch the driver, that number 43? He's had a rough couple of races the last few races. Average finish in the last 3 races, a 23rd for Jacob Chase. He started off the season pretty solid, but what's going through your head if you're Chase, who's kind of finding himself up at the front once again?
I mean, I think that you just kind of look at this as an opportunity. Like, this is your chance right here. And not saying that he wouldn't have a chance anywhere else. Just that, this is probably his best shot. This is his best run that we've seen him have on speed all season long. He's doing a great job. And it's more than just, like, oh, well, he's, it's Talladega, so he's up front. I mean, you got to do a lot of things really well at Talladega to be up here at the front. You've got to be able to hold a steady wheel. You got to be able to, be comfortable running close to other cars. And he's doing a really nice job of that right now.
Yeah, Jacob Chase doing a great job in that number 43. Hey, let us know if you're in the chat. First of all, we appreciate you being here watching the race every week. Let us know what driver you're pulling for. Let us know what driver you want us to put the camera on a little bit more. Give them a little bit of love, and we will certainly make that happen. Right now, Chris, up front, same story. Patrick Colby is in the lead. Justin Wilson second. Randy Bechdel third. First car on the inside, Steve Karosik leading Jacob Bradley and Karosik's teammate Zachary Lima. But right now it's a breakaway a little bit on the outside, led by Patrick Colby. But as soon as I say that, Justin Wilson's going to find a little bit of air. He's going to jump out to the outside. He's going to work his way by Colby with the help of his teammate Randy Bechdel for the lead here on lap 29. Again, we are caution-free. Watching that number 58 car
some contact
go to the front.
Between the 91 and the 43, that was, we'll go back and see if we can see what happened there, but that was really sketchy. There was some blocking that was going on right there. I think Patrick Colby might have been trying to put a little bit of a block on Rye Jones, and it got Jones over into Jacob Chase right there, and man, that was almost big.
That was definitely a close call for the driver of that number 91 and 43 as we watch that replay. Absolutely right. Right now, though, Rye Jones peeked his nose out a little bit. Like I thought he wanted to go to the lead on Patrick Colby. He's going to settle into that second spot behind Colby on the inside, Karosik behind him. We're back to 2x2x2 racing as far as the eye can see. First 10 to 12 rows here of the field. At least 24 cars side by side. just within about, right now, Chris, 27 cars within 3 seconds of each other on the track. This is only one of 2 racetracks you see that. So,
yeah, and
right
Ryan
now,
Jones, we saw Ryan Jones peek to the inside, like you said, let's go into turn 1. You got to be careful about making a move like that, because one thing that is a little bit different about Talladega and Daytona is Jones is going to make a move to the outside here, get with his teammates, is that you cannot make a pass underneath the yellow line. You cannot advance your position beneath the yellow line here in Slingshot.
Yeah, I know our eye in the sky, our eagle eye, Sam Maxwell, definitely on the lookout for that yellow line rule and drivers advancing their position underneath the yellow line right now. Ryan Jones avoids that. He's got some help from his teammate Justin Wilson. He's now on the outside looking for the lead. We mentioned Ryan Jones as a driver, Chris, that is looking to get in victory lane for the first time this season and maybe get back in the title hunt. Right now, Jacob Bradley got a healthy lead, but a win tonight with some laps led could definitely help Ryan Jones's cause if he wants to win that Apex Energy Series UV Awards Championship trophy. Right now, good momentum, good speed for that 91. We'll look to see him at the end of this race. Hey, got some requests. We asked, what driver did you want to see? And immediate reply, we heard about the 00 and the 13 of the very racing teammates, Chris. I'm just looking through the field right now to see if we can find those guys. Matt Kuntz and Nick DeCesare back in 28th and 29th, and this presents an interesting opportunity to talk about kind of an alternative strategy from what we've seen up front. These guys are content to ride in this number 13 and 00. If you're in this race right now, Chris, whose strategy like you better? What do you make of the 00 and the 13 riding at the back here, Kuntz and DeCesare?
You and I have done plenty of super speedway races in Slingshot and in other leagues, and this is the strategy I think that we employ more than any other one. We like to ride in the back, wait around to the end of the race.
We got cars coming down pit road. Sorry to change the subject, but we're going to want to cover these pit stops. Lap 32, several cars coming in hot on front stretch. One car in the grass. I'm not sure who that is.
Chris Blassie in the 15.
Chris Blassie in the 15 gets it saved, gets it going straight again, but that was a close call. We're going to have to see if he gets a black flag for that or not. But right now, several cars on pit road. Scotty Sobczak was one of the leaders to bring him down, Chris.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that these guys could not make it to the stage break. The stage break is lap 35. It's not a break, but it's the stage. The first stage ends at lap 35. So I'm guessing that they could not make it to the end on fuel. We'll see if these guys who have currently stayed out, we'll watch them right here coming off of turn number 4 right here. If anybody decides to make a move here, or if they've saved enough fuel to make it. It looks like they have. So I guess those guys have elected not to go for stage points.
Yeah, I suspect that since we've seen these drivers stay out here, completing 33 laps, I would suspect that they're going to try to go 2 more, at least 2 or 3 more if they to make their pit stop, Chris, to get those points since they did not come in that time by. Right now, those drivers who did elect to take pit stops on lap 34 coming down the backstretch, and the good news for them is they've got enough cars, at least 4, 5, 6, 7 cars in that pack where they're not going to lose too much time.
They got to get together faster, though. They're too spread out right now. I think that they will get together, but this is the time right here where you got to run as fast as you can if you're those guys, because you want to be able to put some ground between you and the big pack right here, the guys that you're racing against.
Yeah, the big pack coming by one more time, front straightaway. They are not coming down pit road this time, so a lot of these guys are going to be going for points, Chris. And this is an interesting situation because this is a race, this is a track where you could see a driver go from 8th to a stage win in a matter of a lap. So Justin Wilson right now working on it, going underneath Patrick Colby, lap 35. This is it. We are going to be coming to the stage point finish. We won't have a caution, but the winner will be awarded 12 points and then descending increments down from there all the way down to 1 point for the 10th place finisher. And those do make an impact in the championship standings, Chris. Justin Wilson, I know, and Ryan Jones could both really need some of those points if they're to get back in this championship hunt with Jacob Bradley.
Yeah, let's not tear anything up going for a stage win here, but, you know, it can happen. It has happened before. So, man, Patrick Colby, Justin Wilson coming to the line here. It's going to be close.
It's going to be really close. They go by the lap car. Looks like Justin Wilson's got the advantage, but Patrick Colby's going to get the push from the 81 to the 51 of Randy Bechdel. I believe Colby's going to get the stage point there.
Yep.
He is going to get the stage win based on what I saw at the line right now. They are likely going to be coming down to pit road. We heard the window was between lap 35 and 40, so I suspect these drivers are going to be looking to get down anytime. We'll probably see at least two groups, I would imagine, from this initial pack right here, the first 24 cars. I hope for their sake 24 cars are coming down pit road at one single time here. Just about halfway through the Apex Energy 175 right now.
Yeah, and if you're a guy on the outside, you can't make your pit stop if the guys on the inside are there. So that also has something to do with it here. Is I'm trying to watch the lap times here of
that breakaway pack that's about 2 corners ahead right now. As they head out of 2, the other pack's headed into 1 and 2. So
their
about half the straightaway.
Their last couple laps haven't been as good, but they're it looks like they're picking up the pace here. Zachary Lima is leading that group. Jeremy Gardner giving them a good push. So we're seeing those guys. I think they're getting a little bit better organized here, and they're running almost as fast as that lead pack here now.
And you mentioned how critical that was, especially if we have a race that goes green. And I know at the beginning of the race, you never would have thought that. We asked the poll, will there be a big crash? Will there be a caution? And out of 13 votes, 100% of those votes said yes. And right now, I don't want to put the jinx on this, but we're 37 laps in. We're past the halfway mark here of the Apex Energy 175, and we haven't seen that big crash. We've seen Patrick Colby lead several laps. We've seen Justin Wilson lead some laps. Karosik has led some laps. But overall, these drivers have been fairly respectful. Right now, just waiting for this first pack, this lead pack, to make their pit stops. They've got to be due anytime, especially with the green flag run all 38 laps so far. As they work their way down the backstretch, Chris, I'm looking at the intervals between them and that initial pack.
That's close.
Very close.
Man, Patrick Colby left the bottom open, and Randy Bechdel peeked to the inside. Randy played nice with him right there and, got back in line. But as Randy's going to come to pit road, they're all coming to pit road.
Yes, several payday drivers coming down pit road. Wesley Pistol, Josh Ward. Oh, Kyle Dewey into the wall. Almost got into the back 48. He's going to hit Josh Ward. Coots. Johnny Rapp also going to have issues there. I'm not sure if we're going to see a caution here on lap 38. The 33 cooked it coming into the pits, Chris. Green flag is still going to be out, but that is going to be a real disaster for Josh Ward, an innocent victim, as we saw the 33 careen off of the pit road entry wall. Green flag still out here during this cycle of pit stops for the leader. Wrong place at the wrong time for the driver of that 57, Chris.
Yeah, it's easy to do here. You're coming to pit road in a big pack like. It's unfortunate for Josh Ward. Hopefully, damage isn't too significant for him or Kyle Dewey, and those guys can get back out there, and anything can happen.
And as we watch this battle, we watch these cars coming off pit road, Chris, and this first pack to pit definitely got their act together. We're watching them go around right now, and Steve Karosik is leading this pack. They are going to make mincemeat of these drivers who just made their pit stop. So I would say that worked out pretty well for them. We were watching the interval timing with that first pack led by Zachary Lima, Jeremy Gardner. You see Scotty Sobczak and Steve Karosik there. Great job overall for those guys.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure that it was going to work, but it did. And, they did a really nice job, as you said. Now, the question's going to be, can Randy Bechdel and this group right here, can they, run good enough? Can they run fast enough right here to chase them down? They're not too far back, because we got another group right here, James Suggs, leading that pack coming off pit road. Those guys, I think they're going to get swallowed up here by these two packs. Yeah, can Randy Bechdel and his group, can they make up the ground on the... I think that they are. I think that they actually have the toe. They're about a second off of them right now, and they are getting a slight toe off of that group.
Oh, yeah, and we knew it was a matter of time. There's probably about 15 car lengths between that first pack and that second pack right now. To catch you up, if you're just joining us in the Apex Energy Series 175 here from Slingshot Racing League at Talladega, we just finished our pit stop cycle. We said it was going to be a one pit stop race. We had 3 strategies, 3 different laps for pitting, and right now we've got 3 packs essentially. Right now that second pack is catching that lead pack. Randy Bechdel catching the toe of Chris Blassie in that 15. Despite having trouble on pit road, Chris actually came out pretty good there, Chris, as he's in that first pack. I think they actually might be a lap down, though, if I'm looking at my scoring timing, but he's hung in tight with that first pack. And right now, Randy Bechdel has brought that second pack even with the first pack. And what do you expect to see here? Single file for a few laps?
Yeah, Randy had a chance. He had the run. He could have, tried to form an outside line, but he was not interested in that. Just wanted to get in line and ride right here. And, one driver that we saw that could not quite hang with that pack was the 60 of Jacob Bradley. Unfortunately, Jacob kind of got separated from his payday teammates, and he is back here with this group right here that's racing side by side. This group right here has got to get in line. They're losing a lot of ground right here by racing, and that's going to do nothing but put them further behind.
Yeah, Chris, and I know a lot of our viewers know kind of what we're talking about here, but just from a technical standpoint, why is it important for drivers to say single file? What is the draft? How does that work? How does that enhance the speed of these cars?
So the car in front is basically creating a slipstream effect, and you can, on a super speedway where you're running wide open, that's the way in which you generate speed. That's the way in which you generate momentum, as we've got a little bit of shuffling going on up here in the lead pack now, but that's the way in which you do it. And, as Lima's going to get put in the middle here.
He's going to jump up a little bit. Steve Karosik, they're going to jump with him to the inside line. Looks like those Dale Cup teammates working that inside predictably based on what we've seen earlier in the race. They don't want to let each other get too far apart, Chris, but right now it came at the expense of dropping back to 4th and 5th position with payday teammates Randy Bechdel, Justin Wilson, Rye Jones claiming those first 3 spots.
Yeah, and what I was saying before, those guys that are back there, they're about 5 seconds behind this lead pack led by Wesley Pistol. The only thing that they can do is that they just got to run as tight as they can, as close as they can, and not get side by side. They want to try to keep as much energy built up as they can. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them to catch it. They're currently losing a lot of ground right now to this lead pack.
Hey, but one thing that we're noticing from the lead pack is you watch right now, we've got racing going on side by side. And you mentioned it, Chris, when these cars get side by side, they slow each other down. And we're going to see potentially if that has an impact on that second pack of cars doing their best to run down this front pack. We'll keep an eye on that first car. Just looking back, that first car, I believe, is going to be Tony Caputo's. I'm just looking through my running order. You mentioned Wesley Pistol.
Pistol, yeah.
He's 6 seconds. We'll be keeping an eye on that gap.
Yeah, and it's grown a little bit even with those guys racing side by side here in the last couple laps. So, it might just be who's running in what position in that pack. Maybe they feel like they need to do a little bit of mixing things up in order to see who would be where. But we got a good little pack going on right here for racing for the lead here.
Yeah, side by side for at least 4 or 5 rows. The battle right now between Dale Cup teammates Zachary Lima and Steve Karosik inside and outside. Lima's got Randy Bechdel pushing him. Patrick Colby is pushing the 72, but as soon as I say that, Lima is going to jump up in front of his teammate Steve Karosik, and he's going to lead the outside line. Randy Bechdel going to see if he can take that hole and go for the lead with Justin Wilson and Rye Jones. Right now, though, as soon as I say that, Zachary Lima going to jump to the inside. Chris, you know what? I would love to see how these Dale Cup cars finish this race. If they're 1 and 2 coming to the line, what the decision made is for who's going to win this race, because it could get crazy based on what I've seen from these two guys out here. I don't necessarily think there is a set strategy.
Well, I think that like some of the moves that I've seen are really, 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 really impressive by both Lima and Karosik. They're committed to each other. And we've seen them force 3 wide situations in order to make sure that the other one is not hurt in a situation where maybe somebody tries to make a pass on them. So. I'm going to be curious too. Do they stay committed to each other here at the end of this thing?
Yeah, right now, hey, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, particularly if you're watching on YouTube, it's absolutely free. Go ahead, hit the like button and the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. Helps us grow our channel and get you updates of any new content coming out as we watch Zachary Lima push Steve Karosik. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. take a quick walk through the running order. Steve Karosik in the lead, Zachary Lima second, Patrick Colby in third, Randy Bechdel also running fourth, Jeremy Gardner, Chris, who said he was going to finish last tonight, running the sixth spot right now, Ryan Jones seventh, Scotty Sobzak eighth, Evan Pienta ninth, Tony Caputo. Let's talk about Tony for a minute, Chris. He's had a few rough weeks, but Tony working his way into the top 10 here, doing a real good job. Driver that number 42, running that throwback Mella Yellow Paint scheme from Darlington last week. I know he's enjoying being out here, liking the view he's got going on right now. So, attaboy to Tony. I'm just looking up some stats from Tony.
And while you do that, Ellis, we have seen some connection flashes from Tony tonight. So, hopefully that's something that keeps. Hopefully that connection stays strong and he's able to finish this thing off as good as he's running right now.
Yeah, Tony has had some tough luck on super speedways in his slingshot racing career. 28th. Position average. So looking to gain a lot on that over the course of the evening. By the way, Ellen, my wife, is watching. Shout out to her and her family. Appreciate her tuning in, as well as everyone else in the chat right now. So we'll keep an eye on Tony. Keep an eye on those connection issues. You mentioned that can be really dangerous at Talladega.
He got loose and he tagged the wall there.
Yeah, that could be big...
Paul Thomas is involved. Yeah. That's going to be a caution.
Green flag is still out based on what I'm seeing. Lap 48, that 42 is going to get off the track down to the apron, down on the backstretch. Green flag is still out. So, Chris, the commentator's curse strikes once again. We're going to travel back to the scene of the crime, see what is going on here.
I don't know what was going on with Tony Caputo. He got really loose in front of Paul for some reason, and... Oh, man, that's some serious net code right there. Some really, really bad net code. We'll see if we can look at this from overhead. They never touched physically, but the net code made it seem like they did. And unfortunately for Paul, he was just an innocent victim in that deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Wrong place, wrong time. Chris, the net code, I don't know what's been going on with that this season, but this is some of the worst I think I've seen. We've seen several drivers fall victim to it over the course of our 8 races this season. This is just another victim in the line here, Paul Thomas. Lap 50 in the books, Chris. Would you believe it if I told you we're going to make it a lap 50 caution-free despite having that incident just a moment ago?
I really wouldn't have, and that's nothing against our drivers at all, but seeing how aggressive everybody was at Daytona, I just expected to see that tonight, and everybody has been aggressive tonight. Everybody's been racing hard. But one thing that I have seen that's different from Daytona is I don't see that really, really tight door-to-door racing. I don't see people trying to, get all down on people's door. Because as you see, sometimes netcode can occur. And the risk just is not worth the reward this early in the race. I really wouldn't tune that up probably until about lap 60.
Yeah, and that's going to be about 10 laps from now. Just 20 laps remaining in the race, Chris. In the chat, Don asked an interesting question. What exactly is netcode? Don, netcode is essentially the computer coding that makes all of this go possible and all of this possible. And when we talk about netcode, we're talking about the internet connection code between cars. And essentially... The computer programming that allows... Oh, we got a crash. Zachary Lima and the 9 of Patrick Colby. Chris Lima is going to keep it on the apron. Save of the race after contact on lap number 51 with the 9. Wow. Masterful job by the 26 to save that. And immediately I'm watching the pack. Steve Karosik dropping back. He is going to pick up Zachary Lima, and that is a teammate right there, Chris. That 72 dropping back to see if he can pick up his teammate.
Oh,
wow,
yeah, Patrick. Patrick tried to make the move with Karosik, I think. Karosik moved to the bottom right here. Patrick was just following him, and he was not clear.
Yeah, not even close to being clear. I think that he probably just saw that 72 go down, and that was... I don't know if I've seen a wreck that didn't happen as much as I did that 26 and the 9, Chris. So great job. And no net code needed there. Back to that bit about net code, Don. It's essentially the calculations that are done to let one car know that another car is there on the track over the internet. I know that's a very abstract explanation, but these cars, they're not real, right? So they're on a track virtually, and it's the math that's done to know when those cars come into contact with each other over the internet. And if it's not very good, you can have a huge gap between cars, yet the computer program still telling the cars that they're coming into contact, which can cause that wreck. So you kind of saw a bit of a gap between Paul Thomas and Tony Caputo there. Probably shouldn't have been a wreck, but the computer told them that they were going to wreck, and that's what happened. So probably not the best explanation, but hopefully that will suffice for now. Lap number 53 in the books here for Apex Energy Series at Talladega Superspeedway in the Apex Energy 175. You're looking up front right now. Randy Bechdel, Patrick Colby, Jeremy Gardner, Justin Wilson are your top four. Several seconds back, just about 5 seconds back, Steve Karosik and Zachary Limacris. This is going to be a battle to follow, and I'm interested also if they pick up this pack led by Chris Pierce, this third pack now that's emerging, and see if they can work together to gain any time with just about 15 to 16 laps left in this race. Time is going to be of the essence if they are going to work over any gains on this field up front, Chris. And as it gets racier, I would imagine these times will slow down just a little bit, and that second pack might actually have a shot at it. So right now, 2 by 2 by 2, first 3 or 4 rows here of this front pack. A car that we haven't talked about much tonight, Chris, Evan Pienta in the number 55, jumping up to 7th position, 4th car on the outside there, doing a real good job of keeping his nose clean. Pienta started in the 19th position. He's up to 7th right now. So different paint scheme tonight for Evan in that I'm not sure if that's like a Detroit Lions car or what might be going on with the paint scheme there, but that blue and silver definitely sharp, standing out on the track for Evan Pienta Designs. Going to give a push to the 81 of Scott Sobczak, see if they can get that outside line moving here as the field works their way down the backstretch here on lap 55.
Yeah, Evan has just had a really quiet night all night, staying out of trouble, and he currently finds himself with a shot to win this thing. Anybody up here in this pack right here that's on the lead lap, they have a shot to win this thing. Just want to circle back to the incident between Colby and Lima. Sometimes Patrick was given the 72 of Karosik a big push, and sometimes when you're pushing that car, your vision is really cut off by the big rear bumpers and the big rear TV panels on these cars, and it's very easy when you're pushing somebody to lose your spot on the track, like lose your idea of where you are compared to the other ones. And so that might have been a situation where Patrick just kind of like lost sight of where he was on the track. But right up here at the front of this thing, he's been up near the front all race long, and he's going to be somebody you got to contend with to win this thing.
Yeah, and speaking of a guy you're going to have to contend with, Jeremy Gardner, Chris, I haven't brought it up yet, but Gardner won the opening clash of the series at Daytona, so we know he's got super speedway experience and some super speedway chops. He told us in the chat before the race he's going to finish last. Definitely a little self-deprecation there, but we're watching him fighting for the lead right now on the outside in third place. Gardner, great-looking paint scheme, I'll add, by the way. Getting feisty here with just about 14 laps left in the race. We'll see if he can stick around. Doing a real good job. Energy is picking up here at Talladega, ladies and gentlemen. Just about 13 and a half laps left here for the Slingshot Racing League. And again, we've got at least right now roughly 7, 8, 9 cars that could potentially win this race. And the bad news is, not going to count Zachary Lima and Steve Karosik in that group yet unless we get a caution, because I'm watching them drop back about 2.5 seconds over the past 3 laps or so, Chris. So you mentioned you get too far behind, you lose the draft, and your chances of winning go down tremendously. Right now we're seeing roughly about the first 7 cars in this pack on the lead lap contending for the win. Looking back there at Lima and Karosik, hoping for a caution for those drivers. But right now, we're 58 laps caution-free. Don said it's a very fast-paced race so far. Fingers crossed, Don. I hope you didn't just put the jinx on us. But nevertheless, we're still green here.
Oh,
Justin
and
Wilson.
Josh
Josh
Ward
up there.
Yeah, a lap down, trying to get up to the front of this pack, try to get his lap back the hard way, and haven't seen too much 3-wide action here in this pack after the pit stop.
Yeah, Josh Ward doing a good job fighting tooth and nail after getting taken out on that lap number 38 pit stop. Kyle Dewey, we saw Kyle Dewey's fans in the chat. Definitely some tears for Kyle as he got into the wall there on pit road. Cooked it a little too fast on entry, but Josh Ward trying to fight his way back. And I'm going to take a second just to look back in that backpack, Chris, see what's going on back there, see if there are any drivers making some moves. Everyone looks like they're playing pretty nicely so far. Single file with Chris Pierce. You can see Wesley Pistol, James Suggs back there. James Ledford, Chris, having a pretty good run right now. Looking through my stats just to make sure I'm correct. Running 13th. Ledford got his best finish. Sorry, that's James Danforth. Ledford as a 20th place average finish the last 3 races. But one thing I'll say about Ledford is he has on average gained roughly 12 spots per race. So he's in contention for that Hard Charger award. We appreciate the subscription there. He's in contention for that Apex Energy Hard Charger award, where we tabulate on average how many spots per race drivers gain, just to kind of reward tenacity and sticking it out and kind of methodically working your way through the field. James Ledford did a good job with that last week and continues. James Ledford, I'm looking at a starting position tonight. Ledford started in the 26th position. He's up 13th. So he's looking to add to that tonight, Chris, in that number 48. Doing a good job of keeping his nose clean out there in the 48 car. Sitting 13th right now. We mentioned that second pack. They are running about 10 seconds back. I just don't really see the time for them to catch up. I think right now they're looking just to stick it out where they are, hope for a caution.
Yeah, and back behind them, we've got a group of 3 right here. These are the last 3 drivers on the lead lap. Nick DeCesare, Johnny Rapp, and Matt Coots all running thereabouts. Those guys that we saw right there on the screen, they're about 15 seconds behind those guys. So, these guys are going to need a caution as well. And if we get one, it's anybody's race.
And I think that's what they're banking on. And right now, 10 laps to go. Energy is picking up. You can feel it. It's a palpable feeling up at the front right now. Patrick Colby, Randy Bechdel are first and second. They've each got a push partner behind them. Jeremy Gardner behind the 9 of Patrick Colby. Justin Wilson in that blue and green car, that purple and green car rather, running on the outside, pushing his Payday Racing teammate, Randy Bechdel. They've got Rye Jones in tow. And then we've got Kyle Dewey. I know he's a lap down, but he's been running up at the front of this pack for the last several laps since he got back after his pit stops, Chris. So we'll see if that lap car plays any sort of role in this Chris Blassie as well. That is definitely the wild card here. You've got some lap cars in this lead pack that could potentially be used to hurt or help other drivers. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Josh Ward's got a fast car back there. Eric Wright has a fast car. But right now, your top 7, Colby, Bechdel, Gardner, Wilson, Jones, Sobzak, and Pienta. These are the cars we're watching right now with just about 8 laps left in the Apex Energy 175 here from Talladega. We've been green the entire way, and I say we ask the chat one more time if they think there's going to be a caution this last 7 laps. So let's go ahead. I want to put this question up, and I want to hear from people in the chat.
Yeah, while Ellis puts that poll up there in the chat, we see Josh Ward still back here, deep in this pack right here, still trying to make something happen up on the top as he's trying to make sure that he's the first car a lap down. We have a race within the race itself.
Absolutely, because you mentioned it. If that caution does come out, you're going to want to be that car that gets the lap back. Right now, we're not. I'm surprised I haven't seen it pick up more than it already has, Chris. We're going to be coming to 7 to go here.
Yeah.
Yellow flag is out. We're going to see if we can find out where
huge crash
this happened.
off of turn 4 right here. Daniel Berg, Jacob Bradley, Chris Pierce, Steve McDonald, several cars involved. We're going to go back and see if we can see what transpired. Oh, man, it looks like maybe it started around Chris Pierce. I think he got turned Oh, they were catching these guys here. They were catching the 26 and the 72. And just a push slightly on the left rear by Wesley Pistol. Turns that 65 around down into Lyman Korosik. We saw Wesley Pistol shoot to the outside wall right there. We'll go back and we'll see if we can get like a better view of some of the other action that happened. We know Jacob Chase was involved, Jacob Bradley as well.
Oh yeah, that is your points leader. So there's some serious implications, championship implications, as Rick Allen would say there, for Jacob Bradley, your points leader. Those Dale Cup cars were really lucky, Chris, that they didn't get dragged into that incident after the contact.
Yeah, and there was some contact in their door, and I think it was into Lima's door, but he was able to hold on to it. Right on board with Jacob Bradley right here as he is behind this, and you can see the 7 just slightly offset to the left right there. And I think that, yeah, Jacob got hit from behind as he went down there to the apron, but I don't see a lot of damage on his, maybe a little bit on the left side, but not too bad for our championship points leader. I think a lot of drivers, Steve McDonald as well, might get away with very little damage. Chris Pierce, unfortunately, not going to be as fortunate in the Apex Energy Toyota.
Unfortunately, Chris not going to continue that string of really strong finishes he has put together. I believe his average finish, Chris, in the last 4 races has been 7th place. So that is not going to continue tonight for Chris Pierce. But several drivers still in contention here. Drivers who are lagging back. I know the Dale Cup teammates are going to benefit from that caution. Several cars who needed that caution to come out are probably going to come in, take a pit stop here, get some fresh tires on this, and we're going to have a 5-lap or less shootout. Looking right now, it's like it's probably going to be a 3-lap shootout. I tell you what, let's go ahead. We haven't heard from any of our partners yet, so let's go ahead and hear from Apex Energy as we get ready to reset this race. Apex, proud presenting partner of the series. They make this whole thing go round. So we'll hear from them, and we'll be back on the other end of this break. How do we get these one-of-a-kind amazing trophies? Well, we were fortunate to find UD Awards when we started our league. We reached out and we connected with Christopher, and we got started designing these one-of-a-kind works of art. The process was easy from start to finish. After just a few revisions, we finalized each one of them, and the team at UD got to work building each trophy from scratch. They're a small team, but they've got the ability to do just about anything your brain can imagine. And don't worry, if you're not an artist, they've got an entire catalog of unique trophies in pretty much any material you can imagine. Wood, acrylic, glass, and in the case of last season's trophy, metal. The best part, they're affordable. If you're looking for a trophy for your event or league, the choice is simple. UD Awards can give you exactly what you want. All right, we are live here from Talladega, Alabama, Talladega Super Speedway Slingshot Racing League in the Apex Energy Series. Winding it down here at Talladega, Chris. This is going to be a 4-lap shootout between Randy Bechdel, Patrick Colby on the front row. Randy Bechdel is going to be your control car here. He is the leader. One added element to this restart is the Geico restart zone. This is the first time Slingshot Racing has used restart zones this season, season number 5. And essentially, Randy Bechdel has to mash the throttle down and take the green flag somewhere in the Geico restart zone, which you'll see in blue on the wall. So it's going to be on him, and that's going to give him an advantage here, and he's got his teammate Justin Wilson right behind him. So I'd imagine there's some communication going on between those two drivers. Right now, Bechdel coming down the front stretch into the tri-oval here at Talladega. Going to enter the Geico restart zone here in just a moment. We'll listen for that throttle. There it is. Bechdel mashes the throttle. 4 laps left in the Apex Energy Series 175 here from Talladega. Bechdel gets the launch. Wilson and Rye Jones going to be second and third. All 3 payday cars lined up on the outside here.
Oh, a stack up.
Colby right behind
Rye
them.
Jones.
Colby Jones onto the inside line, down into the grass. Is he going to hang on to it? We're still green. Can Rye Jones gather it back up without causing a crash? He does. We're still green here. 4 laps left. Bechdel and Wilson break away on the rest of the field. Karosik and Lima coming through the middle there, back in the 5th and 6th position. Dale Cup teammates working their way to the front, Chris. They've got a head of steam. Wilson's going to come down to block. He's going to get into Bechdel. 4 laps to go, coming to 3 laps to go here. Karosik's going to split Randy Bechdel with Jeremy Gardner. Bechdel is in the sucker hole. He's going to drop back to at least 7th or 8th, Chris. And wow, energy has amped up here. These drivers just took their Apex Energy Series drinks and just shoved them down their throats, and they're ready to go here. 3 laps left, Talladega. Justin Wilson, Patrick Colby on the outside, Karosik and Gardner 3rd and 4th. Zachary Lima is separated from his Dale Cup teammate, Steve Karosik, up there. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. He's in the middle of Evan Pienta. Scotty Sobczak on the outside. Karosik's going to go up to pick up the 26 of Zachary Lima. Justin Wilson loses a good bit of momentum on the outside. He's got Evan Pienta and Randy Bechdel to push him. Energy moving down to the bottom line there. Justin Wilson in that purple and green car underneath Patrick Colby, too wide for the lead here. Wreck off of turn number 4. Nick DeCesare, he's going to save it. He's going to stay out of the wall. He's going to come down pit road, and we are under green still. 2 laps to go. Johnny Rapp sideways down the front stretch. He's going to get it gathered back up. Probably doesn't look too happy about what happened there, Chris. We've had several calls. 2 laps to go. Very close calls for drivers. I doubt we're done seeing those, Chris. Justin Wilson, Patrick Colby, Evan Pienta, Jeremy Gardner are your top 4. Randy Bechdel and Steve Karosik in the 3rd row back there. That Alabama Crimson Tide holding tight to the right side of that purple and green Margaritaville car of Justin Wilson. Justin Wilson with 2 victories on the season. Patrick Colby with none. Evan Pienta without a win this season. Several winless drivers. Randy Bechdel without a win. Jeremy Gardner without a win, Chris. We've got several drivers who are hungry. They're coming down to the white flag here at Talladega. It's 4 cars on the outside, 5 or 6 cars on the inside. Right now, Gardner pushes Patrick Colby on the outside. They've got Dale Cup teammates behind them. Patrick Colby doing everything he can do to block the momentum of both lines. Right now, Justin Wilson going to shoot to the bottom. He's got Pienta and Bechdel behind him. They come down the backstretch for the final time here at Talladega in the Apex Energy Series. 3 wide back in 3rd and 4th place. Wilson being pushed by Pienta, Colby being pushed by Gardner. The Dale Cup teammates are working a 3rd line here on the outside. This is anyone's call who's going to win this right now. Colby and Wilson side by side. Can that Karosik and Lima line get going right now? It looks like it's going to be Colby and Wilson. Wreck in the back, several cars around. Gardner, Pienta, who's going to win it at the line? Is it going to be Colby or Wilson? It looks like it's going to be Colby's going to win it at the line in the Apex Energy 175 by about a foot or less.
Man.
Wow. Man, I'm going to have to take a breath after that one, Chris. That was a wild finish. Roll Tide. Patrick Colby going to take the victory here at Talladega Super Speedway in that Alabama Crimson Tide car. They worked their way down the backstretch. We talked about hungry drivers, Chris, and I don't know if I know a hungrier one than Patrick Colby getting the job done in that Alabama Crimson Tide Mustang. Justin Wilson's going to be third, Chris. Look who finished third, James Suggs. Great job by James Suggs to slip into third unbeknownst to us in the midst of all that chaos. Wow. Don Hilburn says, hell of a finish. Lots of congratulations in the chat right now for a great race. Speed Kings E Motorsports, good race. We appreciate it. We agree 100%. Bob R says, yikes. I think a lot of us probably had our eyes closed halfway down the backstretch on that last lap, Chris. We're going to give these drivers a second to collect their breaths as we watch Patrick Colby work his way down the front stretch, probably getting set for some celebratory donuts here at Talladega Super Speedway. We're going to hear from James Suggs first before we hear from those first two drivers. So give us a moment. We'll pop into the Discord. We'll get James Suggs into the broadcast booth here, see if we can grab him.
Yeah, while Ellis does that, we'll actually ride on board with James Suggs as he was able to navigate his way through that crash right there. That was insane from his perspective.
Sorry, it's taking me just a second here. Discord's being a little
It's okay.
finicky with me.
It's all right. It gives us a chance to get a look at all of this action that went on here on the last lap. We saw Suggs and Kuntz get together. A lot of carnage coming to the line there.
Lots of carnage, and the guy who made through that carnage just barely had a great view of Jacob Bradley's car coming to the line. James Suggs, this is Ellis and Chris in the Slingshot broadcast booth. You got a copy, my friend?
Yes, I do. That was
Man,
crazy.
That was crazy. Have you had a second to gather yourself after, I would imagine, was a pretty wild ride coming to the line there?
I was still trying to get my heart rate to slow down a little bit. I just stuck it out there in the middle. I don't know if I got into that guy or not, but you know, I needed a decent finish. Our team needed a decent finish, and I just was going. That's all I could do.
Man, you did a good job. Talk to us about kind of what you felt going through most of the race before that wild finish. I know it felt kind of tame from our end in terms of running up until lap 63 without any incident. I know we had a couple of close calls, but what was kind of your experience racing in the field most of the evening?
Well, it was definitely a lot better than the Daytona race when I think everybody's given a max effort to make these races a lot cleaner, and it's really been showing the last probably about 4 races for sure. But the race was pretty calm. I stayed up in like the top 12 to 10 till about lap 20 or so, and then I kind of fell back to see what was going on further back. But it stayed pretty calm until that instance there with Wesley. And I'm still confused about that. I don't know how he got into the guy, but it did happen.
Yeah, we had some interesting net code all evening long. I'm glad you were able to stay out of the fray most of the evening. And, man, you mentioned it. You needed a good finish. I'm just looking where you finished last week at Darlington. I'll look through the field a little bit. But, yeah, I think it stands to reason after finishing 24th last week, this is a well-needed improvement for you to lift your spirits for the rest of the season. Maybe a little bit more hope. I know it's going to put a pep in your step moving forward. What race are you looking forward to the rest of the season most?
Oh my gosh, I'm not even sure. I really don't know. I've been working on Road Atlanta. I'm trying to get my road course package a little bit better, but that's really the only thing I've been working on.
All right, so we'll be talking about James Suggs, road course specialist, before you know it.
I don't know about all that, but I'll keep it on the black stuff's the main thing.
Hey, that's all that matters, man. You'll be there at the end. We appreciate you, James Suggs. You got any shout-outs before we let you go?
I just want to thank Woo Woo Garage and my wife for letting me do this stuff, and you guys. I mean, y'all, I love this league. I've been real tickled here. I feel really comfortable. I think anybody that's looking for a great league to run in needs to be in this one.
Hey, man, we appreciate that. We'll
that.
pay you your $5 later.
Yes, sir.
All right, James Suggs, third place finisher tonight. Great job, James. We'll talk to you later.
Yes, thank y'all, guys.
Yes, sir. All right, we're going to move James into the waiting room. We're going to pull in Justin Wilson, Chris, and I'm going to let you take this one over. Oh, top out. Going to move James back. All right, now Justin Wilson's going to be in here.
Justin Wilson, driver of the number 58. This is Slingshot Booth. You got a copy, bud?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Hey, man, so we saw you work with your teammates all night, and you guys almost pulled it off. Talk about how you saw the race transpire. Did everything kind of work as you guys thought it was going to go, and did y'all's game plan work out the way that you thought it would?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we could only do so much. It's just, you know, I'm happy for the second. I'm just happy to survive. But there's just a lot of people showed their true colors tonight. You know, the aggression was just ridiculous. I mean, there was a lot of just side slamming, and I don't like seeing it. You know, I prefer to keep it clean. Me and Randy, we were trying to just mind our P's and Q's, just turn laps, but it just got into like a slugfest, and it just, you know, we're playing the caution side, so we don't cause, you know, get wrecked, and it was frustrating. That's all. But you know, I'm happy with the finish. Can't get wrong with that. You know, congrats to Colby for winning, and everybody else that survived the melee there at the end.
Yeah, we saw there's a lot of aggression there on that last restart. We saw, you know, come to the line right there. It just seemed like all the help went away. Is there anything that you look back at that you think that maybe you could have done a little bit different coming to the line that maybe you would like to go back and do?
Yeah, it would have been just, leave some people out to dry instead of trying to ride behind them early in the race. And honestly, at the end of the race, we knew it was going to be like that at the end of the race. But, you know, mid-race, there's really no sense for all that aggression. But to each his own. You know, everybody drives it different. So it's the nature of super speed racing. So we're fortunate enough to survive. So we'll move on to the next race.
Yeah, man, you made it through, and you probably gained a good amount of points tonight on Jacob. Looks like he finished 7th, so gained some points in the standings there. Any shout outs that you want to give before we let you go tonight?
No, yeah, I want to thank you guys for putting the show on. Like I said, this season's been a lot of fun. You know, coming back from the break, it's been really relaxing, and I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I do miss racing with everybody. Thank the team. You know, we had a lot of teamwork this race, and it showed by our performance. You know, running up front pretty much the entire race. So, thank those guys and everybody watching.
All right, man. Justin Wilson, your 2nd place finisher tonight. Congratulations, man.
All right, Patrick Colby, the winner of the Apex Energy 175. Thrilling finish. Patrick, we'll go ahead and say this together. I know we're both University of Alabama fans. I said it right after you crossed the line. What are we going to say?
Roll Tide.
Roll
baby.
Tide. All right. How about that, man? Congratulations. Putting that Alabama Crimson Tide car in victory lane at Talladega Superspeedway, just about 2 hours away from the university. Talk to us, man. This is a special victory. We talked about hungry drivers. I said I don't think there's one more hungrier than you out there. Talk to us. Let's just start with the thing that's freshest in your mind, that race to the line. Were you looking in the mirror at all, watching the carnage ensue behind you, or were you just laser focused on what was in front?
I knew I had Jeremy right behind me, and I got to give him the biggest props on planet Earth because he stuck to my back bumper. We all grouped together, a bunch of us, before this race, and he was committed and he stayed there. And if it wasn't for him and the pushing at the end, I definitely wouldn't have even been in that situation. But I knew as soon as me and Justin lost both our help, I just tried to put it on his door as tight as I could and get a Blaney-esque finish out of it.
Well, man, it was a thrilling finish. I think it's going to be, on the same lines as that finish between Matt Kuntz and Rye Jones in the late model series over the summer in terms of closest finishes ever in Slingshot Racing League. We saw you lead a good amount of laps over the night. We just talked to Justin Wilson. He seemed a little bit displeased with the aggressive driving and didn't call any drivers out in particular. But was that your experience up at the front in terms of aggression that you saw from drivers running up front earlier on in the race?
I mean, it seemed about as aggressive as it always is at plate tracks. The track's a lot wider, so I think there was definitely a lot more room for people to move up in air versus like Daytona, where we would end up in the wall a lot. But I felt the same, honestly.
Now, I know you had a close call where it looked like Karosik was moving down as the leader to the inside, and you tried to follow him, but his teammate Zachary Lima was there, and y'all had contact. Were there any words exchanged? How did that? How did you save the car there with that incident?
My car wasn't too upset with that whole scenario. I think I was locked onto his bumper, and when he moved, it kind of drug the front of my car with him. And that's when we got together. And I apologized profusely because my intention was to stay in that second lane, and it just kind of got drugged down. And on that note, I do want to send out a big apology to Rye there at the end. I know we kind of got stacked up with a weird restart, and I ended up getting in the back of him, and that kind of ruined his night. So that one is on me. It's my bad.
Well, as they say, man, that is super speedway racing. Any shout outs you want to give before we let you go celebrate your first win of the season?
Absolutely. I got to shout out all of the guys that were in the Discord with me, whether it was Evan and Scotty, my teammate this season, and Jeremy the most, and Karosik and all those guys. They were great. And I mean, it was working with them was a product of how we got here and why I'm in this position. And shout out my brand new wife, Leah. Love her very
congratulations
much.
on that.
I know. Got married and won a race. What do you know?
It's been a big month. You got a
Yes.
blue Mustang. You got married. You got your first win of the season. So yeah, I would say things are pretty good for you.
It's been great.
By the way, I thought you would find this comment funny. Nick DeCesare says that Very Racing Motorsports was surgically assassinated in the last 3 laps of this race. They ended up having some issues towards the end. So, man, you stuck it out. You held in there, and you avoided that chaos on the last lap. So, great job with that.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Patrick Colby, the winner of the evening, the man of the hour. Chris, it's been an overall great race. I know we had some lull, in terms of no cautions, but I felt like despite all of that, the racing was still just really good tonight. We saw a lot of action. We saw a lot of passes for the lead. I'm interested to look at the statistics in terms of how many quality passes we had over the course of the evening and how many lead changes we had. But if we looking through the results, we're seeing a couple of names that we haven't seen up in the top 10 in a while. James Suggs, we mentioned that. Great finish from James in 3rd position. Randy Bechdel, Chris, we mentioned getting back into proper championship form, seeing if he can work his way back into the conversation. A 2nd and a 6th place tonight, not too bad, and helping his cause a little bit. Jeremy Gardner, Chris, he mentioned he was going to finish last before the race. He ends up walking away with the top 5, so congratulations to him. Jacob Chase, also in that 43 car, despite some early race issues. Going to bring it home in 8th position. Karosik is going to finish 9th. Chris Blassie, good finish for the driver of that CNL racing car. Chris Blassie bringing it home 10th. Just taking a look. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, some great runs up there in the top 10. Jacob Chase, like you mentioned, we saw some guys, our suspects who were up front all night. Like Randy Bechdel was up front all night, led a lot of laps. Steve Karosik led a lot of laps as well. Those guys come out of here with top 10 finishes despite getting caught up in that wreck there at the end.
Yeah, really good job for all those drivers. Just looking through the rest of the field, a lot of these drivers got caught up in that last lap accident coming to the line. Looking at Johnny Rapp, I know he had a good finish for the 52 car, considering everything that happened to him on the last 2 laps. James Ledford, Chris, we mentioned the driver of that number 48 earlier in the broadcast. James brought it home 12th, and he's going to continue to gain ground in that hard charger standings with most average positions gained over the course of the season. So great job for James Ledford. Patrick O'Toole, good job finishing 13th in that Kyle Busch Motorsports throwback tonight. Kept his nose clean all night and got a finish, top 15 finish as a reward for that. Lee Campbell, Chris Blassie's teammate, brings it home 14th. Steve McDonald continues to get back in that top 15 form that we saw him on earlier in the season. He had an 8th place finish last week at Darlington. He probably would have preferred something like that tonight, but not bad considering all that happened. You mentioned Zachary Lyman in the 16th position. DeCesare and Kuntz were running in the top 10 coming to the last lap, but got caught up in that incident. Coming to the line, Evan Pienta also running up front near the end of the race, getting caught up in that last lap incident. So there's your top 20. You'll see the rest of the field scroll across the top. Most of these guys got involved in some sort of incident one way or the other over the course of the evening, and most of those incidents did not take place, Chris, until the final 10 laps of the race. So, we saw several drivers mention it in their post-race interviews tonight. The cleanliness and the clean racing, the respectful racing has really picked up over the past month and a half or so. We started off rocky in Daytona, but like clockwork, these drivers are in peak form, and that was on showcase tonight at Talladega. Just one caution in 70 laps. We saw some green flag pit stops. We saw some chaos erupt on those green flag pit stops. I know the Kyle Dewey fans don't want to relive that, but that could have been a lot worse than it was, and we stayed green despite that. Dewey running in the front of the field much of the evening before that incident. So looking through the rest of the field, we mentioned several of these drivers got caught up in those incidents late in the race, Chris. I'm telling you, I think this was one of the better restrictor plate races we have seen in Slingshot Racing League. Any final thoughts before we pack it up tonight?
Just that, I wholeheartedly agree. Such great improvement from Daytona. We heard, Justin Wilson obviously wasn't happy with some of the stuff that we saw, and there was a lot of door banging there, at the end, and we saw a lot of lane changes that went on during the race, but I didn't see that super aggressive side drafting that I saw at Daytona, and I think that resulted in, Patrick brought it up, this track's a little bit wider as well, and I think that resulted in us having a much cleaner race than what we had at Daytona. So big improvement from there. Really happy about that, and congratulations to Patrick Colby on his first Slingshot win of the season.
Absolutely. Putting that Alabama Crimson Tide car in victory lane here at Talladega. Patrick Colby is your winner tonight in the Apex Energy 175. Chris, we're heading to Phoenix next week. Big change of pace as we hit a shorter track, 116 laps. Race number 9 on the season. We're probably going to see some different faces up front than we did tonight. Definitely looking forward to that. Everyone who tuned into the broadcast tonight, we cannot say thank you enough. We gained a few more subscribers. If you have not liked this video or subscribed to our channel yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that thumbs up button. Every little bit helps us gain traction and bring your favorite drivers in front of more fans. So I'm Ellis Thomas in the booth. Chris, I appreciate you being here as well. We will talk to everyone next week from Phoenix Raceway. Good night, everyone, for Slingshot Racing. Are you looking for high-quality, affordable sim racing paint schemes and graphics? Then look no further than Evan at Evan Pienta Designs. Driven by speed, Evan Pienta Designs offers a multitude of sim racing graphics, from liveries to social media graphics to team and series logos. To see some of the work done by Evan, or even race one of the public liveries he's made, head on over to tradingpaints.com and search Evan Pienta.